Hi everyone and welcome to Inside the Naval Postgraduate School. From Monterey, California, I'm your host, Alan Richmond. Well, from time to time, we have the pleasure of hosting visiting dignitaries. And recently, we had the opportunity to visit with the Undersecretary of the Navy, the Honorable Robert Work. Well, Mr. Undersecretary, welcome to the Naval Postgraduate School here in Monterey. It's a pleasure to have you here. Now, I know this isn't your first time here because you were a student in NPS, correct?
Yep, I was had a 28-month curriculum. I was getting a master's in space systems operations at the time. So I arrived here in 1988 and left in 1990.
And those were fond memories, I hope.
Very fond. In fact, my wife loves this area. She'd love to retire here. She had as good a time as I, and it was just a really tremendous time for me.
I'm sure you made a lot of friends when you were a student here. Was networking a part of your experience?
Certainly was. I still keep in touch with several of my classmates, and as was talked about this morning, it's kind of a fraternity. The Naval Postgraduate School is kind of a fraternity, both with foreign officers as also officers in the Navy and the Marine Corps. My military assistant, Colonel Pete Keating, is a graduate of NPS. There's a lot of NPS graduates everywhere, and you always can gin up good stories about Monterey and this time we had here.
I'm wondering if you can give us an overview of the duties that you perform and your responsibilities as Undersecretary of the Navy.
The 2008 National Defense Authorization Act changed the role and responsibility of the Undersecretary in a fundamental way and designated the Undersecretaries of all three of the departments as the chief management officers of the department. And Congress has some very specific and detailed guidelines on what they would like the chief management officer to do, basically focusing on the processes of the business processes of the department, as well as anything that would have to do with requirements, budgeting, and the way we go about doing business. Now, Secretary Mabus also uses me as the Chief of Staff of the Secretariat and also the Chief Operating Officer of the department. So, and kind of the easiest way to think of that is an XO of the department. I'm the number 2 person in the department and do all of the duties that the Secretary directs me to do.
Well, it was a pleasure having you as the keynote speaker for the 7th Annual NPS-sponsored Acquisition Symposium. Can you give us a little overview from your perspective?
Well, the symposium comes at a great time. Secretary Mabus has 3 primary kind of priorities as Secretary. One of them is to reduce the reliance of both the Navy and the Marine Corps on fossil fuels and for the Navy and the Marine Corps to become more energy efficient. And he does that specifically, or his vision on that is really focused on operational impact, taking Marine convoys off the roads, for example, or making carrier strike groups less dependent on oil. So it really is a strategic view. The second thing is to become very, very important in unmanned systems, or really increase the importance of unmanned system across the department, both for the Navy and the Marine Corps. And the third one is to really focus on acquisition excellence. And he has 5 principles. The principles that I outlined this morning were really try to get the requirements right. We need to do better at that across the board. Second one is to really raise the bar on performance. Performance in our contracting, performance in the execution of our contracts. Third one is to rebuild our acquisition workforce. We outsourced it a lot in the late 90s and early 2000s. Rebuilding up that technical authority within the department is a high priority for us. Partnering with our industrial-based partners to make sure that we maintain a good research and development and acquisition industrial base. And the final thing is really make every dollar count. And one of the things we're doing on that is really focusing on contracting reform. So being me coming out, I don't get to leave the Pentagon very often. And the fact that Secretary Mabus asked me to come out and speak at this just reflects the importance that he puts on acquisition excellence.
Well, switching gears for just a moment, what kind of advice would you have for young military members who are watching this in terms of expanding their careers in education?
I think there's very few things that are more important than advanced education. The Department of the Navy and the Marine Corps is really shifting. As I described it this morning, I believe this is a grand transformation from a Navy that was kind of focused on platforms, total ship battle force, to really a total force battle network in which everything is interconnected. And trying to understand that grand shift and what it means. We need to have smart young officers coming in who have operational experience and can apply that operational experience to these questions so that we can have answers that will really inform the way forward. So I think for young officers at the 03, 04 level, lieutenant captain and major lieutenant commander level, the payoff that we get inside the Department of the Navy by investing in advanced education is enormous. I just had a discussion on a CubeSat and different types of small satellites that might have a big impact on the way the Navy operates in the future. That type of research and that type of infusion of smart young officers back into the operational forces is just invaluable in my view.
That's one of the things we're most proud of here at NPS is our cutting edge technology, and I suppose that's what really makes us relevant in today's military world.
Yes, I mean, I was really struck by the presentation I got this morning in which the vision of Naval Postgraduate School is really to be this kind of world-class center of excellence for operational research and just things that really have national security impact. So in my mind, the Naval Postgraduate School is a national treasure, and I'll do everything I can to support it.
Mr. Undersecretary, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and we hope to have you back to NPS again soon.
Alan, it's been great to be here.
We'll be back with more of Inside the Naval Postgraduate School right after this break. Well, for the past year, we've been celebrating 100 years of service to our country here at the Naval Postgraduate School with lots of centennial celebrations. This is no exception. Today is Memorial Day, and as you can see behind me, lots of folks here are for our annual Memorial Day concert on the lawn with the Monterey Bay Symphony. After 100 years, we thought it would be interesting to talk to some of our students and alumni and take a look at what is NPS in the year 2010. Along the majestic California coastline, nestled adjacent to the beautiful Monterey Bay, sits one of the world's leading institutions of higher education, the Naval Postgraduate School, our nation's premier national security research university. Founded a century ago as the School of Marine Engineering at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, the Naval Postgraduate School has grown in response to a changing world. The school moved to Monterey in 1951, taking over the landmark Hotel Del Monte Resort, one of the finest luxury hotels in all of North America. Now, 100 years after our founding, who are we and what do we do to claim the title of being a national treasure? Our mission is clear: to provide relevant and unique advanced education and research programs in order to increase the combat effectiveness of the United States and allied armed forces and to enhance the security of the United States. We thought you'd like to hear what our students and alumni have to say. After all, they, along with the faculty, are the heartbeat of NPS.
Commander Randy Garner, United States Navy Commanding Officer, USS Freedom LCS-1 Gold Crew, stationed here in San Diego, California. My job description is to ensure that my crew is trained and ready to operate the ship and that Freedom is operated safely. During my time at Naval Postgraduate School, I studied systems engineering with an emphasis in electronic warfare, and that was a very good degree for me to use considering my current job description. Systems engineering gave me some analytical skills and some problem solving that I use pretty much day to day here. My degree in systems engineering directly relates to what I do in the Navy, not line item by line item, but the technical expertise in order to operate a highly automated ship such as Freedom is directly translatable to my day-to-day experience on board the ship. So the automated systems, which rely on technology in order to reduce some of the manpower requirements that most ships might need, are very dependent upon an understanding of how they operate and how to maintain them, and how to make best use of those systems and to keep them functional. So the technical skills that I learned there were very helpful. The faculty at NPS was very professional, experts in their areas, which obviously made my educational experience that much better. NPS remains relevant day to day for several reasons with what we do in the Navy. For one thing, there's a connection between Naval Postgraduate School and ongoing events in our Navy in the process of doing research. Students choose research projects which often are directly connected to future events in the Navy and current systems in our Navy. Not to mention the technical skills that they acquire there, the higher degree of education that they'll attain, they'll use throughout their career, not just as lieutenants, not just lieutenant commanders, but on through their ranks as high as they go. So day to day, I still use my training and the analytical skills it gave me, not to mention the officers that would arrive at Naval Postgraduate School now will be directly connected somehow to the fleet in how they choose their thesis projects or other research.
I'm Lieutenant Nicholas Myers. I'm a Navy submarine officer, and I'm in the Graduate School of Business and Public Policy, completing an MBA in financial management. My thesis study is entitled An Economic Analysis of Investment in the United States Shipbuilding Industry. What it does is tries to quantify some of the benefits to the U.S. economy of building ships, and it recreates a methodology used by economists in the United Kingdom at Oxford University. What I'm hoping is that the study provides a platform for future research efforts and provides the Navy leadership with a little bit of an economic case for increasing investment in building U.S. ships. The Naval Postgraduate School has been really a wonderful experience. My 18 months here have challenged me in new ways. The professors come from a variety of backgrounds, a stellar group of talented individuals, former Harvard Business School professor and others. And we get a great exposure in the financial management community to private sector business issues, as well as financial management issues within the Department of Defense. I'd highly recommend Naval Postgraduate School to anyone who's looking to receive an MBA, to work hard, to study private sector business issues, as well as learn a lot about Department of Defense financial management.
My name is Lieutenant Greg Lembo. I'm originally from Wyckoff, New Jersey. I've been an instructor pilot here at HSM 41 for about 2.5 years. HSM 41 is a West Coast fleet replacement squadron. We teach air crewman pilots how to fly the MH-60 Romeo helicopter. Basically, we take students that are fresh out of flight school. They've never set foot in a fleet aircraft, and we teach them how to safely fly and fight the aircraft before they go to the fleet and deploy. I'm currently enrolled in the distance learning program at Naval Postgraduate School, their executive MBA program. I've been involved with that program since September of 2008. I'll be finishing up this September 2010. My command has been very flexible in affording me time to complete my studies, both giving me time on duty and off duty to complete those studies. And they put a lot of emphasis on higher education, so I've been fortunate for that. The education that I've received through the EMBA has really caused me to take a hard look at some of the processes I do here in the squadron, in terms of how we train students, how we can increase throughput, and how I can do my collateral duties much more efficiently. So definitely a beneficial impact. And also it's really shown me how we buy these weapon systems. So I get to go fly them every day, but I've also kind of understood a lot more about the budgeting process of how they actually get to this squadron. I think that no matter where you are in your career, if you're thinking about staying in or getting out, if you have the opportunity to either go to the Naval Postgraduate School or participate in one of their distance learning programs, you should absolutely do it. Take it.
My name is Adam Yingling. I'm a DoD civilian. I'm pursuing a PhD in astronautical engineering through the Mechanical and Astronautical Engineering program at NPS. I'm working on the Segmented Mirror Telescope, or SMT. It's a space-based deployable telescope that will allow us to see from farther away and more clearly than ever before. NPS has a good handle on the needs of the warfighter and the research that needs to be accomplished to meet those needs. Among those are more operationally responsive space assets. Essentially what that means is that we need satellites that are more capable and that we need to be able to field them faster. The SMT is one of the things we're doing to meet that. It was designed to be built faster and to have more launch flexibility. No other academic institution has a space-based segmented mirror telescope, so being able to work on it is an invaluable opportunity. Because of the research I'm doing here and the one-of-a-kind of experience I'm having, I know I'll be highly valued upon graduation. As a civilian, that's a really good place to be as far as career tracks are concerned. The faculty at NPS are outstanding. Professors like Bridge Agarwal literally wrote the book on their disciplines. And there's no better way to learn orbital mechanics than from an astronaut who's experienced it firsthand. In fact, Professor Newman's orbital mechanics class was probably the best class I've ever had.
My name is Ramsey Meyer. I work for the Hastily Formed Networks Research Group, which is part of the Sobrowski Institute here at the Naval Postgraduate School. I'm a faculty member, but I'm also a part-time student, and I've been here for about 1.5 years. I'm in the Information Studies Department, or Information Sciences Department. I'm pursuing a degree in Information Technology Management, and that's approximately a 2-year program. Our group became completely focused on Haiti starting on the 12th of January when the earthquake struck, And we continue to be focused on that and expect that we will be focused on that for several months to come because the situation continues to be quite dire. We were able to deploy to Haiti rapidly in the way that we did because of NPS's affiliation with the Department of Defense. So we took military flights down to the hospital ship, which was anchored off of Port-au-Prince, the USNS Comfort, and then we stayed at the U.S. Embassy in a sort of a tent compound. It was amazing to see the U.S. military operating with UN, with NGOs, with international militaries, and really getting an understanding of how the U.S. military approaches disaster relief and how that could be improved in the future. There's no question I would have had difficulty doing my job without having my experience here at NPS, where I got a better understanding of the Department of Defense, of active duty military, and also the classes that I've taken have helped in understanding how to best deploy communication equipment with the military and in sort of austere environments. I would say the greatest thing about NPS is that it's a graduate school that is very much focused on applied research. So it's not just people sitting in rooms and typing papers, it's people who are getting out into the field, who are actually doing experimentation in the field and showing sort of the art of the possible. And I think that's important to realize that doing things in the field is very different than doing things in an office. And it's a great opportunity for students and for faculty to really do things that are applicable to everyday life.
Lieutenant Commander Kevin Smith here at the Naval Postgraduate School, Monterey, California, studying Space Systems Operations. Before I came here, I was at U.S. Northern Command and also did a 6-month IA in Afghanistan. Space Systems Operations is a curriculum where we study the overall architecture and design of satellites to include environment and orbital mechanics to understand how to operate satellites, which may be a future job of mine here in the military. I'm currently working on Naval Postgraduate School's first CubeSat, NPS SCAT, which stands for Solar Cell Array Tester. It will test solar cells in space, in the space environment, and we can compare those results that we get from the satellite to known results here on Earth and test the degradation in space. CubeSats are important to the students here at Naval Postgraduate School because they can teach us the entire life cycle of a satellite, from design, engineering, to operations. This can be done inexpensively and can also be done within a lifetime of the student here at the school. Our education here that we receive at Naval Postgraduate School is very relevant and important to today's military. As we can see, today's military is more technologically advanced and will only get more advanced in the future. And we need to have the education and background to operate some of the more advanced systems that we will see in the fleet, on the ground, and in the air in today's military. My education here at the Naval Postgraduate School has prepared me for my next assignment in Afghanistan by giving me the basics of understanding satellite communications, which is the main form of communications in Afghanistan. And my follow-on tour after Afghanistan will be on the USS Boxer as the ship's communications officer. And the only way a ship at sea can communicate is via its satellite communications.
My name is Mike Bilzor. I'm a U.S. Navy commander. I'm a PhD student in the computer science department, and I've been at NPS for about a year and a half. The particular project that my group is working on is microprocessor security. What we're looking at is the threat to somebody making a malicious change to a microprocessor used in particular by the Department of Defense, the Navy, or any other high assurance computing application. What we're considering is the fact that a lot of microprocessors are manufactured overseas by potential adversaries or in those countries. And if someone makes a malicious change to a microprocessor, our question is, what does that look like and can we detect it? And so that's been the focus of our research. Every student goes somewhere different when they leave NPS, and I'm no exception. I'll be heading to the U.S. Naval Academy to be part of the faculty there. My program is called the Permanent Military Professor Program, or PMP. And what they do with that program is take folks like myself who have fleet operational experience in the aviation or surface or submarine communities, and then train them up to be instructors there. So my NPS research will translate both in the classroom environment at the Naval Academy and also in continued research wherever I may pursue it in the Naval Academy as faculty there, whether it be at the Naval Research Lab or NSA or wherever else. One of the great things about being a student in the computer science department is the diversity of research that the faculty are involved in. It doesn't really matter as a student whether you're interested in cybersecurity or media exploitation or artificial intelligence. You just don't have to go very far to find a professor who's already working doing world-class research in your area.
Commander Darren McPherson, Commanding Officer of USS Sterett, a guided missile destroyer based out of San Diego, California. As Commanding Officer, I am in charge of ensuring the ship is manned, trained, and equipped to accomplish any task that the Fleet Commander or others may want to use this ship as it's designed for. We're a warfighting asset for 3rd Fleet now. We look forward to going overseas and deploying and supporting national security objectives of the United States. I study national security affairs with a specialization in China at Naval Postgraduate School. What that basically means is we studied how nation states interact with each other to accomplish their foreign policy objectives at a political military level. As a naval officer, we are bound to know the environment around us from both a technical aspect of the ships that we drive and operate, but also from an international aspect of how our country interacts and depends on our relationships with our friends and allies throughout the world. One of the great things about the Naval Postgraduate School is you do get to use it further on in your career in the Navy. One of the most rewarding things I've ever had to do that I was able to use my Naval Postgraduate degree in was interact at the U.S. Pacific Command as a country desk officer for South Asia, primarily dealing with India. Within months of me going to that job, I was interacting with the highest levels of U.S. Defense Department establishment and the Indian Defense Department establishment, and formulating strategic objectives for the U.S. and India as we developed our long-term political military relationship. One of the neat things I experienced at the Naval Postgraduate School is getting to interact with people from all different services: Army, Air Force, Marine, Navy. It's not just the Naval Postgraduate School, it's international students and members of different services all interacting together, and it's a great experience to broaden your horizons, understand how the military and the Navy can be joint and how we plug into the joint fight, as well as the international military communities.
My name is Africano Mande, and I'm a Lieutenant Colonel. I'm an infantry army officer, and I come from South Sudan. I'm studying for a master's degree in defense decision making and planning at the Department of National Security Affairs. I'm working on a project on defense transformation and specifically looking at the effect of security sector reform on transforming guerrilla-type military to professional militaries. The experiences and the knowledge that I'm getting from here is obviously relevant for my country, because my country, and particularly my military, is going through a process of transformation. So the knowledge that I gain from here will be able to help me contribute and input into the whole process of transformation of my military back home. The impression I have about the professors here, they are definitely excellent. They are very captivating, very encouraging. And one thing I've noted about them is that they do not compromise on the standards set by NPS. So they definitely know the subject matter and they know what you're doing. My experience here has actually been quite good. You know, I like NPS, and the environment is quite friendly. And it has also given me the opportunity to interact not just with the military officers from America, but also with officers from other countries. So we're being able to share experiences other than what we learn in class.
What can we expect in the next 100 years? Leadership at the Naval Postgraduate School is certain that we'll continue to provide top-quality education and cutting-edge research for future generations and military members. Our motto of excellence through knowledge will continue to be our focused goal. Knowledge and discovery at NPS will continue to light the way for our graduates, our country, and our partners around the world. We are the nation's premier national security research university. We are the Naval Postgraduate School, Monterey, California. You're watching Inside the Naval Postgraduate School for Monterey, California. We'll have more right after this break.
What I learned here at NPS and specifically in my curriculum is going to help me in any job that I go to, because I think it's just gotten me back into that academic mode, learning more, keeping up with current events, and just giving a better perspective of what's going on across DoD and across the international community.
One of the best things about Naval Postgraduate Schools, they bring together not only experts in the academic field, but also from the military profession, and it kind of melds those two and provides a unique perspective that I think other institutions that are great just aren't able to provide to the military professionals specifically.
Once you come here to NPS, it drastically changes the way you think about operations and strategy, and being able to walk out of here with that kind of thought process will really help me be able to articulate to my future bosses, and eventually, if I am a commander, to be able to articulate what I need as a commander to get things done. And this is just a way to provide that foundation for you.
Getting the chance to live in Monterey or in the Monterey Bay area, to experience Coming to school here, getting this level of education, working with the faculty, they're top-notch, and the education that you're going to get coming out of here is right along with any graduate program that the military has to offer. And so I would encourage any person that gets an opportunity to come to NPS to take advantage of it, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and they're not going to regret it.
Hello, I'm Dan Oliver, President of the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. NPS is blessed with a world-class faculty that provide unique, relevant, advanced education and research programs that increase the combat effectiveness of our naval services, our sister services, those of our partners and allies, in order to enhance our national security. NPS has a long and celebrated history. During this, our centennial year, I invite you personally to come out and visit so that you can see firsthand what a world-class institution NPS really is. Thank you.
Well, that's it for this edition of Inside the Naval Postgraduate School. For Monterey, California, I'm your host, Alan Richmond. We'll see you next time.